Howdy folks, I'm back with a couple more upgrades that I've done to the Mokai. Just wanted to share those with you. One of them was I replaced the intake grate with a PainlessTom intake grate. The benefits of it are the bars on it are rounded instead of squared off. That allows the debris to get pulled through it easier. Let me get down here and you might be able to see it there. It's got round bars on it instead of square bars. It doesn't seem to clog up as bad. You can still get stuff caught in it, but it doesn't get clogged up as bad as what the square bar one did. So that's helped keep the debris from building up in the intake. Another upgrade I recently did is installing this FlexRing. I bought the aluminum wear ring from PainlessTom and ran it for quite a while after I bought the Mokai. But he's now producing this FlexRing, and I installed it in here and have tested it a couple of runs now since I installed it, and it's working great, and it added 2 miles per hour onto my top end. So it's well worth it. It's $20, $5 shipping, so 25 bucks from PainlessTom. One other thing I found by accident, it's not an upgrade, but I would suggest if you have one of these that you get you some of these rubber O-rings. This is a 100 pack of them that I bought for $16. And they would fit onto this gas fuel quick disconnect. When you repeatedly pull that in and out, removing the motor from here, it wears on that rubber O-ring, and over time it will start leaking. And it just happened to be a coincidence that when I put the mechanical fuel pump on, I was checking all the connections for a fuel leak when I did that. The only leak I had was right here, just quick disconnect, and all I did was disconnect it and put it back together. But that was coincidentally the time when it wore that rubber O-ring down and the gas was leaking right here. So if you have some of these on hand in stock, you can change it whenever you want. Every few times you pull the motor, or if you buy a 100 pack like this, you could change it every time you pull the motor and you wouldn't run out of those things. So that's definitely something you should have before you develop a fuel leak right there. And had I not been doing that and checking for a fuel leak, it could have been leaking when I was going down the river, leaking fuel into my engine compartment, and that would have been bad news. So I would suggest getting you some of those O-rings. You can get that size in a multi-pack of various sizes, or you can just buy specifically the size you need. And I found this company, it's like 16 bucks for those, and I had them the next day after I ordered them, so they're quick to ship. Another upgrade I did was replaced the electronic fuel pump with a manual fuel pump. And I'll pull the motor so you can get a better look at it. There's some of the hoses going to it. It's mounted right up underneath the motor there. I'll pull the motor, let you have a better look at that here in just a minute. And I mounted it down there on the bottom of the engine on the rear side of it. And I have noticed the engine starts better without needing choke once it's warm. The electronic fuel pump seems like every 5 or 6 starts I'd have to use choke to get it started, even if the motor was warm. With the manual pump, it's eliminated that. And if this ever fails, I've got the prime bulb in the line that'll help me get back to the boat ramp. I don't normally prime it. It's just it works. I don't have to prime it every time I go on the water. I use it often enough that there's still plenty of fuel left in the bowl, so I don't have to prime it every time I go out. But that's one less point that can fail, and if it fails, I have a backup, so that's not going to leave me stranded out in the water with the manual fuel pump, since I have the prime bulb in the line. Switching to the manual fuel pump is a little bit tricky because the pulse port line needs to be in here behind the carburetor, and there's very little room back in there to install the pulse port. So that's a little tricky getting that hole drilled. And I drilled and tapped it and put that threaded nipple in and used it as my pulse port for the fuel pump. And there is one on the motor, this one right here, but that one, I guess the plans were from factory to use that for a mechanical fuel pump or a manual fuel pump, and it didn't work out well enough, didn't have enough pulse, so they switched to the electronic fuel pump. Well, if you install one, you need to put the pulse port there behind the carburetor. And since that's a very tight spot, I wouldn't tackle it unless you're really confident in your mechanical abilities to work on that. That's all for this short little video. Thanks a lot, folks. Please like and subscribe.